This episode is brought to you by our chic, luxurious, elegant, and wonderful, delightful even, patrons.
For as little as $1 a month or $1 billion a month if you want, you can get access to show notes, early access first plays, unedited episodes, and the famous Patreon pools.
If that sounds like a good deal to you, and it should, check us out at patreon.com/NGP podcast. And at whatever level you're comfortable, you can lend your wallet and support to us making retro gaming content for you.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Red Shirt Nolan.
And this is episode 390.
That's so many.
And it is a Patreon pool.
I'm depressed, though.
It's the last
Don't say it.
Patreon pool of the summer pool party.
Yeah, it's a lot of peas. I'm going to miss them.
Although, we might have something cooking for you. Heating up.
Up our
some would
sleeves?
say.
Up our
A
trunks.
little something, something.
We
have
don't
something
have
up our
sleeves
trunks.
on. We have something up our trunks, and it's heating up.
I got sleeves on.
Oh,
In
you,
the
you swim with a
pool?
shirt? You swim with a shirt, don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sun cancer kills.
You seem
I
like
wear
a
one of those
swim with a
UV
shirt
shirts, bro. I'm not putting sunscreen all up on my body.
you? Okay, wait. Did you say long sleeve t-shirt?
Yeah, they have shirts for swimming in that keep the sun off of your body. This is not an abnormal thing.
Okay.
You've seen, like, third graders wearing them at the pool for
Yeah,
decades
Okay,
now.
exactly. Oh, no.
Okay. Question of the week.
Yes.
What is the best video game trilogy of all time?
Trilogy. That
And
first of
let's-
all, it's a hard question because they
Right.
make 60 games
Okay,
nowadays.
and let me just make it easy for the people like Kenny. This is super simple. Any three games that could be considered related to one another, like actually related to
Okay.
one another.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Okay.
I wanted to make that distinction.
Yeah.
My uninformed knee-jerk reaction, obviously a very contextual answer, but is the Erdrick trilogy from Dragon Quest 1 through 3. I say having only played the first two.
Oh. No, I don't know that as the Erdrick trilogy.
It-
I know that's a thing.
Fans of the series, do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's just not-
It's something that's on his mind or was on his
Sure.
mind. I can't say is on his mind anymore because Homeboy
Is.
hasn't played it for a long time now.
I haven't played any games, and that's not except the game of the week, and that's not y'all's fault. That's just life's fault. I'm gonna.
Of course, it's not our fault.
Oh, don't blame
I mean,
me.
it could be your fault. You could.
I'm
have
wearing a red shirt
kidnapped
today,
me
don't
or
blame me.
something.
I'm glad it's orange. I'm glad that you. I'm glad that you said that,
red.
Kenny. It's very wrong, but
Well,
we're all entitled to our
Yeah.
opinions.
No, it very much was just like top of mind answer. Like of all time, there's better trilogies, but that was the conversation starter that I had on mind.
Nolan?
I think my answer is BioShock, but it's kind of not because the second game is kind of a dip where
That's
a-
it would
that's a
stain the
good answer,
trilogy
though.
a little bit for me, but the other two are so peak that it's like it's a weird.
It's weird, right? That is, and I'm glad you said dip and not like a failure. Like 2 is
Not a
still
failure.
good, but when
Yeah.
you put it up to BioShock and Infinite,
a
which
valley.
are God games, so
Yeah.
I think that's good. I'll give you another one that
Yes.
I think is up there, and that's the Arkham trilogy.
Oh,
Arkham,
you're so right. That's the right
Oh.
answer.
Those
They are
are
all three fantastic. We don't talk about that other one that they snuck in there.
No.
There's a different dev team or something. Right?
Yeah, I know. We don't. But those three games are perfect. Those three games are
Absolutely.
absolutely perfect.
And what I love about that trilogy too, and this is hard to pull off with the Batman trilogy, they're each their own. Each one of them feels like its own contained thing, yet it's Batman and it's all telling this story.
Yeah.
Very good answer.
There's tons of trilogies though. We've certainly missed some. Drop in, answer the question of the week for us. Check us out on Discord. We want to hear from you. Best trilogy of all time. Let us know.
And if the caliber of those trilogies sparks something deep within your soul, then maybe you should play them too. like in our retro game of the week, Soulcalibur 2.
Overview.
Soulcalibur 2 is a fighting game for the Namco System 246 arcade board. Came out in 2002 on that arcade machine and later received the more popular ports on the GameCube and the PS2 and apparently the Xbox, even though no one had it for that. I promise you no one had it for the Xbox. No, they didn't.
I'm sure
they didn't.
people played this game.
No one's
on the
right. He
Xbox.
did
I'm
his
telling you,
research.
no one owned an Xbox.
You talked to everybody that had an Xbox.
Oh, well, no.
No one had one. That's the thing. That's
No one
what's
had
crazy.
an Xbox.
There
There
wasn't
were so
one
many
sold. Go look
Xboxes
at your
in the
data.
world.
Okay. All right. It was developed by Project Soul and published by Namco. You know, Namco, Bandai Namco does Tekken. So it's kind of the same publisher here. Third in the series. I bet that makes you mad, Kenny.
It does.
That it's 2 and
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it because it's Soul Edge, Soulcalibur, and then Soulcalibur 2?
Yes. Soul Edge is considered the first in the Soulcalibur series. I don't know why
That's
it's not the
fine.
Soul Edge series.
I'll give it to him.
Okay. Kenny, I'll give it
I'm
to him.
okay with it now.
The game hitting the arcades first lets you know that this is a big boy fighter, and we haven't had a ton of those on the show. It's been a while since we have. I know we've played a Street Fighter, but like we've been getting like Dragon Ball on the DS, and this N64 one that I liked. I forgot what it was called. It was like that medieval one. That was
not Mass Effect. Mace of Darkness.
Windu.
Mace.
Mace the Dark.
Yeah, that
Mace
Mace
the
game
Dark
on the-
Age.
on
Yeah, are we
Yeah.
talking about fighters we've played? Because we
Yeah.
played Balls.
Oh yeah,
Played
Balls.
all the worst fighters.
We have
That's
literally played
why.
all-
We played
Yeah.
Clay Fighter.
Well,
We played
that
the Jurassic one.
yeah, that's why everyone
Primal
pulled-
Rage. That's what
the Jurassic one. So the community came
Yes.
together on this pool to get us to play a good fighter. They were really wanting it, so that's why this was a hype pick. And Soulcalibur certainly is, or the second one is a big boy fighter. The interesting thing about this game is that it's not like Street Fighter and others in that you're using your fist to punch people and your feet, although you're using that here. The fighters in this game are warriors that have weapons.
Yeah.
A lot of swords, some stabs, some daggers.
Which is great. As
Yeah.
a developer, like I'm choosing that. That gives you so much more to work with.
It had to have been harder, because it just wasn't done near as much, I feel.
Sure.
And it wasn't near as popular as. In my mind, your most popular fighters, and this I've got all the data actually. I've looked it up and I've got the spreadsheets.
Same.
Are
we
So
got
you saw the
spreadsheets.
Xbox
Street
line.
Fighter and Tekken. Xbox was there, and then on the next page it was about
Yes.
this. I think in my mind it's Street Fighter and Tekken. Those are like at the top of the list.
Pinnacle.
Everything else pales in comparison.
I agree.
I think what you said though about why is a pretty obvious
Yeah.
answer. It's just
'Cause
a
it's
lot
harder?
more to do that.
Yeah,
Like you harder to
balance and
make
stuff.
the game with weapons and balance
Which-
it.
Absolutely.
Some people are screaming at their radio right now. What about
turn that
Smash? What about Smash? Which
Not a
the
fighting
three
game.
of us agree that it's not a fighting game. That's
Thank you.
also on the spreadsheets.
I mean, I disagree. It's not a classic fighter.
I dropped that in Discord this week, and I got a lot of thinking emojis
Yeah.
on it, and I was
Nolan-
like, "Yep, that's right,
Nolan, are you in the It's a Party Game camp?
absolutely a party game."
Oh, I was going with Space Shooter,
Shut
but
up.
we can call it whatever. Actually, no.
Okay,
It's a Metroidvania. All right, go ahead.
okay. I'm not gonna be that guy, Kenny, and say that it's. I'll. You can call it a fighter. Obviously, it's competitive, and there are prize pools, and it's at Evo. And well, actually, is it at Evo anymore? I don't
It's
think
at
it is.
Evo right now. Evo
it,
started
though?
like today, yesterday. Not 2, but
No, I know,
Soulcalibur
Smash.
6. Oh, Smash! I forgot.
I think
that we're
it's
even
no
talking
longer.
About that.
No, I'm still
Um,
on Smash here,
Nolan, you own a fight stick,
of course.
so you care enough to
Yeah.
have an opinion.
Yeah.
And we don't. So like
Sure.
I'm a
And I
big
like to
fighter.
make fun of Smash. You know, gets the people riled up. It's funny.
It gets the
I love
people
Smash, by the
going.
way. Anyways, Soulcalibur 2. The real meat of this story is actually a bit complex for a fighting game, and I don't feel like getting into all of it, but the basics of the story are from the first game. It continues kind of that same premise of these fighters come together in a I would say Mortal Kombat style, but that's not quite true. They're looking for this legendary demonic blade called the Soul Edge, which is the name of the first game in the entire series, which is, like I said, a magical demonic blade that gives you power. And there is a story mode in this game where you take one of the warriors through that journey, or warriors, I guess, technically.
And if you liked playing along with us this week or like this episode, you can thank Garlisle, J. Robert, Cecil, and Sasser because they are the 4 people that submitted this to the final Patreon pool of the Summer Pool Party.
Gameplay.
Although Soulcalibur 2 came out first for the arcade, it quickly made its way to the home consoles, and they did something unique here that I've not heard of any other fighter doing, although I'm sure there's something out there. But for the different consoles, they had a different guest character that showed up, completely embedded in the roster, available from the start.
On the cover of the game, too.
Genius.
Oh, really? I like that.
I think that was, well, I think it could be done poorly. Like,
Absolutely.
It could just be, let's just try to get more people to buy this game. And there was part of that.
Right.
But they went fully in, at least from my experience. And before we talk about that, I just need to, so you might not know many of the characters from this game if you don't know Soulcalibur 2. But you'll know these guest characters probably, because on the PlayStation 2, it was a guy from Tekken. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Heihachi. Heihachi,
Mishima.
He's a little bit recognizable. The thing that is
Absolutely.
really bummer to me is I actually read, don't know how true it is, that they almost had Cloud. But for the sake of time,
It makes a lot of sense.
Cloud and his
to
Buster
have-
Sword
yeah.
would have been perfect.
I feel like he would have been overpowered with the Buster Sword.
It would have been too strong.
On the Xbox, again, no one played it or owned one. It was
Right.
Spawn from
Yeah.
Spawn, the comics.
Yeah.
Which is
lame.
hype. Like, he's such a popular character.
Different opinions there I got from both of y'all. But neither of those top what they did with GameCube. And it's crazy that Nintendo would just hand this over because they had Link from Zelda.
He's on the cover of the game too. It was very prominent and it was a huge selling point. And I do think I didn't look at the data point on this one, so don't quote me. I feel like that the GameCube one sold extremely well, and it would be because of that. Because I remember when the game hit the shelves, I didn't know what Soulcalibur was. I was a kid and I liked Zelda, and I see Link in a sword fighting game. I wanted it.
On my
And I got it.
spreadsheets, on my spreadsheets, it's saying 5 times more than the PlayStation 2
Literally,
and
are you
Xbox.
serious?
No.
Why? Your spreadsheets are supposed to be accurate. No, it is really cool. It just really sucks that Link is like the worst character in this game.
Okay, hold on. Why
Is
why
it
do
really
you?
that bad?
Why do you and why does everyone else
Competitively.
say that? He just doesn't have range.
His
And first of
frame
all,
data is really poor compared to the other characters. If you're playing competitively, if you're playing casually, it's totally fine.
Do you know how much frame data is going to matter to me and Kenny in playing this game?
That's why I whoop y'all's.
Because you got frame data on lock.
No, I mean it exists. I don't care to look at it.
He's got spreadsheets of
I didn't
frame
play
data.
against the human this week. You only really need it for humans.
Amongst all of the guest characters that I just mentioned, you've got a large variety of characters and characters that, like in Mini Fighters, are unlocked along the way. So you do certain things in different modes and you'll unlock a variety of characters throughout. I actually don't know how many are in the full roster. I'm guessing close to 20,
I don't know.
15, 20. Kenny's trying to...
He's doing the math
I'm
somehow.
trying to figure out the grid size and then do the math, but I can't
It's not
remember
gonna
well
happen.
enough.
But from all of those characters, who did you spend the most time with? Who's your main?
Yeah, I want to know y'all's. Because you saw my
Ready?
first play, so I'll go last.
I mean, I'll tell you what I did, but you guys aren't gonna like it.
Probably not.
I leaned really hard into the fact that Link exists here.
I think
And
that's
just
fine. That's
Played
great.
the snot out of him.
That's fine.
I started somewhere entirely different. So I did what every gamer fighter does, and I
Waifu.
looked up the tier list.
Oh.
And
Just chose the S.
well, there's 4 or so that are in
A
the
lot
S
in S
tier.
tier, kind of.
And I selected one of those, but as I told people this week, they always like snubbed me, acting like no one plays her. So I played as Xianghua, and her more appropriate attire, and she's kind of like safe compared to some of these other characters, which is just
Ivy?
insane. Ivy is, and her weapon turns into a whip. It's just not.
Yeah,
okay.
Ivy Valentine. Yeah, it's like what's her name from Street Fighter? They always got to have some like dominatrix character.
But I played Xianghua primarily, at least for the first half of the week, and then I did switch at some point, and I switched to Link also because I realized that when I found out that Link can do this sword stomp, like pogo sword stomp on fools, and you can do it over and over again. And on top of that, Link, like they did not go light on Link. They went all the way in. And it's so
heavy.
It's so cool to see some other developer give like actual attention to someone else's IP.
You got the bow and arrow. You're dropping bombs. You got the spin sword move.
You've got
like there's some classic Link moments.
You've got his boomerang. You've got like his song, and I think when he wins, it's the treasure chest like little sound. So much.
It's like it honestly is like they just dropped his Smash character and moveset into this game, which doesn't quite fit. It kind of almost doesn't fit.
I think it was great, and he's got a ridiculous throw that we'll talk about why that's important here shortly. So those are our characters, Nolan, with more experience, which you haven't even talked about. Do you have Soulcalibur 2 experience?
Yes, I owned this game in 2005 or whenever I got it, and I played it a lot with friends growing up, which is that's the ideal way to play, is just against friends.
Is your main still the same?
My main's still the same. It's always been Nightmare. Nightmare is just kind of the face of the series, one of the faces of the series. Sword's amazing, moveset's great, really powerful.
He looked as much. I didn't choose him because he looked evil.
Yeah, he's the bad guy.
It's complicated.
Don't play as the bad guy.
It's complicated.
No, he's such a sick character, the Azure Knight. But the roster's really solid. I think that for a game like this, well, first of all, fighting games are hard to balance, and I think that's common knowledge. You have a tier list in pretty much every fighting game, and sometimes that tier list is just ridiculous. Like, you'll have characters that are just way better, or some that are just jokes to use. Also, by the way, Dustin, did you know Yoshimitsu is in this game?
No.
From Tekken? From Tekken.
No? Why?
Because he has a sword.
He's not the guest character?
No.
Are the
No.
Wait, maybe he's one of them.
Wait, are all these characters from different IPs?
I mean,
no, most of these are Soul.
Okay. Yeah, but Yoshimitsu's a Tekken character. Anyways, the balance here is really good, actually. And I didn't mention it before. None of us have mentioned it. It's a 3D fighter. It's similar to Tekken in that sense, where you aren't like on a 2D plane like you are in Street Fighter. And there's a lot of properties that come along with that make this game really unique. Number one is, well, I guess my first question for y'all specifically is ABKG. How did y'all get used to the button configuration in this game? It's very
How
different.
did we get used to? I can guarantee you that Kenny did not get used to it, because I barely got used to it. This doesn't make any sense, and maybe it was already a formula used in fighting games, so it made a little bit more sense for people that were veterans. But guys, listen. So there is an A that stands for attack, and that's your A button, which is great. Everything else falls apart after. Everything else falls apart after that, because B, your block is not on, your guard, G, your guard is on B, your block, and your
he is vertical slash,
and your kick, your K, is on. First of all, we've already talked about the GameCube controller and how it's a hot mess, but on those gray buttons up top, you've got
the
other
shoulder buttons.
No, I'm not talking about shoulder.
Oh, X and Y
on the face, X and Y. But I'm just saying that in the game, they assign letters to these different things that you can do, from kick, from high, whatever, that do not correspond with the buttons on your controller.
They should have updated
I'm not the only one.
They should have updated that for the port. The buttons in the tutorial, I believe, are still mapped to like the arcade, which is A, B, K, and G.
My understanding is that a lot of people that actually play move their buttons around, like reconfigure where things are. because it just makes more sense to them, especially when you've got to do multiple button presses at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. So
I didn't have this much of a hard time with it. I know you were like, yeah, it's going to be so hard, but it was new to me and it was teaching me what I was doing as I was going. The naming versus naming definitely felt weird. I was like, what is this? This wouldn't have even matched even if I was playing on a GameCube controller. But since we play games remapped all the time, like that doesn't bug me so much. I did, though, start getting some move sets where it was like, push all these buttons at the same time. And I was like, oh, hold on. Let me get two hands and a claw grab involved and like my big toe, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to do this. And so you got to be a little careful with sort of how that maps.
Well, y'all took it there, which is fair. I was meaning more like A is horizontal slash, B is vertical slash, and in most fighting games you've got punches and kicks, which you also have a kick here, but it's just it is a bit wonky because in Tekken you have 4 buttons. You have left punch, left kick, right kick, and a combination of all those, so it gets crazy.
I loved the simplicity here of 4.
Dustin doesn't agree with you. See, this is why this is interesting.
Simplicity
to hear from both of y'all.
Consider this
straightforward.
I would.
Four buttons
and for
that represent a type of attack that you can map to that type of attack, and then you're doing modifications like based on that. And the fact that my guard was an actual button and not just
hold
like
left,
moving back was so welcome.
I like that too.
I'm normally terrible at that. I felt like that was very, very friendly. I found myself intentionally using the guard and the like parry guard so much more than I would have in a similar kind of game, just because it was accessible. It was right there.
Some characters even have a shield that you can like bounces off an attack if you're able to time it correctly. I also liked the guard having a button and actually working. Like, I don't think that you take damage when you guard successfully, which in a lot of other games you
take
still
chip
do,
damage,
but you take less damage. And so listen, I kind of agree with what you're saying in the sense that there is a type of move registered to a button. I like that concept and the simplicity with that idea. I do not think that it works itself out that way. Sure, you can just use the single tap of each of those buttons and get an effect. But if you're going to be any good, you're doing some kind of combination along with the D-pad or your stick to do a dance around this battlefield while you're setting off these combos. Sure. And a plethora of moves per character that's different for each and every character.
Absolutely. Wouldn't be a good fighting game without it.
What you want in a fighter, though, is simplicity, where it's simple enough to understand and teach easily and feel like you can at least succeed. You want a low floor, and then you want a crazy high ceiling.
I agree.
And I feel like this game did that well.
I think so too, and I think it lies in the game's main like standout mechanic. All fighting games have some sort of distinct thing that they do, and like in Street Fighter it's like your super, and they've got many iterations of that throughout the series. In this one they have a mechanic called guard impact. I think you mentioned it, Kenny, and this is where the true mastery lies of this game, and it's very difficult to get really good at it. I still struggle with it. And guard impact is when you hit guard and left or right on your stick to get frame advantage over your enemy when they hit you, if you perfectly time them hitting you. This is much more important when you're fighting against people. Against AI, it's kind of like whatever, like you can kind of dominate without it. But but I love it because it makes it feel like more of a dance, which sword fighting, it's kind of like that. And the coordination behind, like, it's risky to throw out this hit. They might guard impact it, like if I'm low health, versus doing a really safe move. And that's where I back to what I was saying about the balance. The guard impact is a very interesting mechanic behind all of this.
You called that the main mechanic, or the main thing that helps teach that, or whatever, that makes it easy, understandable. The thing that I found that made it not as difficult as it could be are the variety of game options that you had, some of which give you the opportunity to either practice really well or to even kind of train up in the way of how to play that game. So before I even jumped into arcade or the story mode, I spent time in practice selecting a few characters, going through them, looking at their moves, setting my opponent to, defend guard only, or, you can set there and just spent time there watching
you were in the lab
performed. Oh yeah, I was in the lab for probably a good hour or two before I finally jumped into the game. Then when I jumped into the game, I realized that it slowly teaches you. Like the first few stages of the story mode are really basic, like introduction, learn how to do this move, this move, this move, before it ramps up a little bit more. So doing those two things helped me to acclimate a lot better than I would have if I would have just been thrown into an arcade mode.
Yep, you got to start with the practice mode. I love practice modes, and when a fighting game doesn't have a good one, it shows and it frustrates me. So that was the right move. And yeah, the story mode. The story mode here is called Weapon Master, and fighting game story modes, that could be a whole like discourse. Like we could do a whole Elements episode or something on it because they're usually pretty weird and bad. But this one, story-wise, whatever, but yeah, it does slowly teach you basics of the game, very, very basic. But what I really loved about it is, and I forgot about this, I guess I didn't play it much back in the day, honestly, there's a lot of like variety to it. It's not simply just fighting like in Mortal Kombat, you just fight harder AI. It does get harder, but they throw in different little objectives and stuff, which make it really interesting and engaging. I thought that was kind of sick.
You've got an overworld map. And you're like,
overworld map.
Sort of.
There's story in between. You do, because you can even, there's sub chapters in these chapters that you can drop down to. You don't have to do them, but you can go to them and do little mini quests, that are story based as well. There's dungeons to delve into and different floors and paths that you can take. Now, each of these things, Kenny gave me a look, everything you're doing is just going into a new battle. And by new, in dungeons, I feel like some of them get repetitive because you're kind of fighting the same guy over and over and over again. But one of the things that Weapon Master mode does is that, well, a few of the things, you get experience in gold, which is crazy. So you go up levels and you get gold to spend on weapons or costumes or
which
things
is
like
cool.
That. There's on certain stages, there's different objectives and challenges. There's stage conditions. So like on some of them, you've got a wind that's blowing you, and so you just have to try to not fall off the edge. Which
there's one that's
Ring
like,
Out. We got to talk about Ring Out.
Yeah, we haven't. That's
do.
a very distinct thing. One of the other mechanics before we talk about it is like there's like a ticking time bomb thing. You have to like pass it back and forth. I think that's the worst one. No, that one's great. That's great. Adding variety to a boring mode like that's what you need to do.
I agree.
The variety is nice.
But Ring Out is important.
We can talk about Ring Out. We got to go back to the story mode, though, because Dustin's acting like it's this dynamic story, and there is lore, and it's kind of nice. But when we say story mode, you're literally just getting a fighter over and over again, which
single
is the game.
player.
That's fine.
It's a fighting game
with just like text-based like summaries.
Yeah, it's not like there's no cutscenes and stuff, but like you don't want that. I promise. What I said earlier, the Mortal Kombat versus DC, you don't want that campaign. I promise.
You get everything that you would want. You're in search of the Soul Edge, and you're going to a new town. Pirates show up. It gives you a little bit of context, and then you fight on a pirate-themed area with a pirate boss at the end of the little rush. Like, I mean, it gives you all that you would need or want in a fighting game when it comes to story.
I did like that there was more. I think, again, the simplicity of the genre sometimes is a little like much for me, and so it gave me a context to play in and a reason and objectives, and yes, some of the things you guys said about different story modes was welcome. Like unlockables as you go was really cool, and so it's not like it was bad, but I just like people need to get into knowing what they're talking about. Story mode.
Ring Out is this mechanic in the game where so in Tekken you have walls that you can splat people against, and there are walls in these stages too, but there's also pits, and if you back an enemy into a corner, you can ring them out if you attack them at the right moment and they're close enough to the edge, which is an automatic win in the round, and adds some pretty decent strategy to the game, especially if you're not the best at like combos and just your normal traditional fighter stuff, you can maybe position yourself to get a ring out, and I think it's been cool.
If you're bad at this game like me, then you're
Ring
just
out.
going to throw people out all the time, because it will end the battle a lot more quickly. And and you've got 2 different kind of throw options, which is very interesting as well, that can both be countered. But
Yes,
you
have to read the counter though.
The computer's not going to do a lot of that. And so if you get it close enough to the edge and have a good enough throw that your character can do, it can toss them off of the ring. Also, they can just fall off the ring. Also, you can just fall off the ring.
Yeah, you can walk. Yes. Yep.
That last one is an unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like I usually don't like when fighters add hazards to the stage or items, like in Smash always was like, turn those off. But this one doesn't feel
gimmicky.
like a hazard. It just feels like a mechanic in the game that's like, it's
Agreed.
strategy. It's great. And it's also a very unique identifier for the Soulcalibur series. I know the other games have done it too, but I've always just loved that about this game.
The crazy thing is that we talked a lot about weapons master mode, but the modes in this game is kind of outrageous. You've got arcade mode, you've got versus mode, you've got team battle mode, you've got versus team battle mode, you've got time attack, survival, practice, and then most of those have an extra version that you can unlock so that you can do them in a slightly unique or different way. There are so many different things to do. One thing that's not on this version that is on the arcade version that I heard about this week, because actually Dave, our graphics guy, he used to play this in the arcades, and there's a mode on the arcade version called Conquest mode, where you have a card that you scan or something, and you are on a team with other gamers that come to that arcade, and you have a squad that's trying to get experience and beat other squads, teams that come to the arcade as well. So like every time you come, you see that your team is falling behind, so you've got to get your team back up. That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, but crazy.
And I honestly, I don't know what some of those modes are.
Yeah,
like,
right?
I've never
There's so
played
many.
them, and I just never played them.
Yeah. And the thing is, you don't have to, right? Because like the majority of people are going to play arcade or weapon master mode. And honestly, I think
I played versus. Against my
Yeah, if
friend
you're doing
all the
couch
time.
co-op,
Sure.
Yeah, that's the way to really do a game like this.
But most of these games, right, they either have arcade or versus. That's kind of all
Yes.
they've got.
Yes.
But this having so many different options, you don't have to do all of them. But I think one of the other key options that was definitely worth playing on this one was the weapons master mode. The story mode, yes, Kenny, might not have the most robust story. I'm not saying it's any Final Fantasy, but
I think the quality of the story is actually fine. Like, there's some lore here and like characters and differences. I think in my mind the presentation of it is really what I was complaining about.
But
just the like
No voice acting, no
just the like
cutscenes.
text
Yeah.
boxy, like, hey, read this little snippet.
But I love the weapons master mode for if for no other reason, as it's my favorite way to unlock things in this game, because you're earning the gold and then you
super
can
fun.
spend it on the weapons and the costumes that you want.
Feels a little more in depth and a little bit more gamey, sort of gives you a little bit of metagame, where a lot of fighters are literally the only option is jump in and just
MK.
fight again and again and again.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. It's welcome.
Aged.
I think when it comes to arcade fighters, you've got 2 sides of the spectrum. I think the majority of them age well on again, arcade, remember, it has a chip that you couldn't do at home back in the day and whatever, and so like it's going to look good, it's going to sound good, and I think they ported it really well to the home consoles, because I think from my observation they carried the majority of that over. But on the other end of the spectrum, fighters primarily are built for you to play against someone, which is harder to do nowadays, and we've talked about it in other games like this, but I think it's something that we've got to acknowledge. It can be done, but it's not easy on Soulcalibur 2 unless you're sitting by someone.
Correct. And also, I think Garlisle informed me, because I was pretty hype. I was like, oh, let's get the community going to play on Fightcade, which is an online service. You could play like Alpha 3 against people. It's not available in that service yet. I think it's supposed to be coming soon or something. So yeah, playing against people it's pretty restrictive in 2023, and I agree. To me, and this goes for most fighting games, that's the ideal way to play.
Against other people.
Against
yeah.
another person.
Yeah. That's kind of the idea.
But I think the way that this game works around that is by having some kind of substantial single-player mode.
Yeah, wise to add that.
Yeah, for home console in particular.
Yes, definitely. Right. Now, we did play the GameCube version this week, and it came out on PS2, so like maybe you played that. But on the GameCube, I want to point this out. I have a fight stick. Yes, I used it. If you played this game with the GameCube controller when it came out, you weren't having fun. You might be having a little fun in single player, but if you're...
So we agree about that controller.
No, I love the controller.
And the console.
No, I love the controller and the console. I'm saying that playing a fighting game with your thumb on a stick is a bad experience. I'll just tell you right now. Playing with a stick with your hand is good, but the D-pad is what you normally want to go for if you're playing on console. It's a pretty good experience. Like playing on Tekken with a PS4 controller. The D-pad on the GameCube is this tiny, and it sucks. And the button layout, I'll give it to you, Dustin. You have to switch to like a real claw grip, which is fine again, but it doesn't work here. And I had a lot better time playing with a fight stick than I did back in the day using the GameCube controller.
I bet. Yeah. Like this is, I feel like the way that the control scheme is set up is for arcade. Like that seems like it would work perfectly. Absolutely. Because I wonder, man, I again should have looked this up, but is it 6 buttons that are kind of 3 and 3 on top of each other?
I don't know what the actual cabinets had set up, but for me, I had 2 and 2, A, B, and then KG underneath, and then I had Z, which was the key charge move on a map to a different button. But yeah, it's really great on there.
It is a reality though, because almost every time we play a game on any specific console, especially things with unique controllers, GameCube, Nintendo 64, I'm always like, I want to play this on the original controller because it's going to feel best and seem good. This week I was very glad that I didn't, and that it was just I was mapping my own buttons to a more modern controller so that I could have a sense of what was what. Again, some of the button like combinations didn't work as well there, but enough of it worked and felt fluid that I kind of get what you're saying. Like in some ways, the original controller was not the one you want to be playing on.
I will say the graphics and music both hold up really well for today. And even though GameCube is B tier, something along those lines, I think that graphically and sonically this is really good. I expected there to be more polygons. I didn't play the PlayStation 2 version, and PlayStation 2 is moving at this era. I guess we're moving away from some of those more sharp edges, which like here it's smooth. These models look good even today. Like, and the stages looked good. The detail on the models, the different weapons, like everything was presented really well and holds up really well.
Well, this is one of the weird cases that we're running into now on the podcast of like 6th-gen consoles.
Yeah.
And it holds up fantastic. I agree. It's an S-tier console. I don't agree it's a B tier. But it looks really good. And the stages were popping. Like the backgrounds look really solid here, and there's a lot of variety. I couldn't find a lot to complain about in terms of the character models.
I know when we're talking about age, we don't normally talk about mechanics of the game because not a reality. But like this was easy to pick up and felt fluid. Some fighting games don't. I felt like it was just very accessible. At least for me, this one was a much easier one to pick up and felt like I was succeeding. And that third dimension of fighters, when you're off of just the back and forth, sometimes it's really hard for me to do or understand or follow. But it was implemented so smoothly here that just all of the motion didn't feel foreign or unnatural, even though there's a ton of complexity there. I still had to learn it. Like there's still a lot of things that I was bad at, but it felt achievable and smooth and fluid and responsive. And so like there were no like hurdles to playing the game that sometimes this genre has for playing a game this old, however old it is. It's not like super, but Yeah, I was surprised how much of those things weren't issues.
It's not as rigid as Tekken in terms of movement. I think I prefer Tekken because it is rigid, but I agree it's easy to pick up and play. And I mean, there's something to that because I think there's still a community, a competitive community around this game. Not in the sense that Soulcalibur 2 is on main stage of Evo that's going on right now, but there's side stages and side tournaments that still happen because people still find it very playable.
And Soulcalibur 6, however,
Yes.
is on the stage at Evo, and they're competing in it right now. So
Geralt
this is
in it.
this is a relatively expansive series. It began in 1995, and it's had its most recent entry, Soulcalibur 6, which was released in 2018. So it's about time for a new one.
Yeah, they'll be dropping another one any day.
Did you know that Soulcalibur 2 was actually re-released an HD port for the
I saw that.
PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2013?
That was new to me.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
I honestly prefer the look of this original one.
I'm
to
sure I
the
would
HD
too.
That's
graphics.
often the case for me.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise, like being a classic, like retro gamer, but sometimes stuff gets cleaned up or improved or HDified or whatever, and I'm like, just don't.
If you want the disc for your GameCube, that tiny disc, are they really small?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the like
They're
compact
babies.
CD.
Then you are going to be paying $19 for it used, loose,
Already have
easy.
Not bad.
It's a little bit more new, $109.
Okay.
Still not the worst.
No, that's affordable actually.
Out of the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, and the GameCube, I do think that the GameCube is the more costly, more expensive version out of all of those.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Probably because of Link.
Like,
Because of
yeah.
Link.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. It's not time for that, Nolan. Kenny, what were your thoughts about and on Soulcalibur 2?
Yeah. Anyone who's listened to the podcast knows this is not generally my go-to genre. I'm just
Skill
not
issue.
great at them. And so, did you say skill issue? It is. Like, it literally, that's part of the issue, is fighting games can
Arthritis.
be hard. And hard to pick up. Yeah, and they're hard on my old man hands. But for some reason, this game felt a lot more accessible than More of a More. One, it was giving me a nice tutorial when I jumped into Weapons Master and kind of like easing me into the game. Two, it was just fluid and kind of friendly, having that guard button right there as something I could just automatically press. Tons of modes. It looks good. I don't know. This was just... I feel like there's a reason people picked this game as the game to have us play to try and redeem fighters, because I don't really have anything majorly bad to say about it outside of just being like, well, it's not really my genre. But given that, I had fun playing it, even accidentally playing the weakest character in the whole game, apparently. Like, I wasn't wildly unsuccessful. I felt like there were moves I could learn that had payoff, that weren't too complex to figure out, and I was learning. The more I did it, the better I felt like I got, and so there was sort of this natural reward for continuing to get better. I don't know. Well balanced. It clearly was made with some love. There's a reason it was popular, and it worked for me, even though ultimately I'm not going to sit down and play like hours upon hours upon hours of this game just because it's a fighter and that's not me. But people should check this one out. New Game Plus for me.
I disagree with some of the things that we've talked about, in the sense that 2D fighters, some of them, are much more easy to grasp in my experience, in large part because you're on a two-dimensional plane. You don't have to worry about the 3D nature of it.
Less to think about.
When I think of Street Fighter, like, if I can pick up a few moves from one character, they're largely, in my experience, transferable to other characters in that game. You've got a relatively defined move set that is used within the game, regardless of who you're playing. that being said, I'm not good at fighters. I'm in the Kenny camp of like, I feel like your brain has to be built different for these kinds of things, because no matter how hard I try in any fighting game, there's never been a fighting game that's clicked for me. Even if we're talking about Smash, which is a Metroidvania, like none of these fighting games have ever clicked for me.
It's RPG.
But in this game, there's still tons of fun to be had, even by fighting noobs like me. Particularly the story mode that gave me some kind of narrative going on, that I felt like I was going on a mission. And when I started getting experience and gold, like I get in my games, that just worked for me. And then there is such a wide variety of abilities. Something was told to me this week that really helped out, and I'll share that information. And it's just, hey, don't try to learn all the abilities for a character. Don't stress yourself out. There's seriously 30, 40, 50 different moves per character. Learn a good 4, 5, or 6 that work for you, that are easy to pull off, that have some variety, and you'll have fun, and you can play through this game. Now, against other players, you might not do well, but you're not doing much of that today anyways. This week, I have found a new favorite fighting game in Soulcalibur 2. Which is saying something, but not tons, because I didn't have many on the list.
Wow, I did not expect you to say that.
Oh, easy. Putting weapons in the hand, brilliant. The balance is so great. The variety of characters. I don't know if I'll play more, but I kind of want to. And that's not happened with a fighter before. So I give it my vote for New Game Plus status as well. Nolan?
Well, this is a victory lap for me and the community, because they wanted us to play a good fighting game. And okay, y'all just demonstrated why I'm obviously giving the game New Game Plus. Fighting games are kind of gatekeepy, and just naturally.
Not kind of.
Yeah, like very much so.
Yeah.
And they should be. They are hard games and very rewarding games, especially if you're part of the fighting game community and that's your regular thing and that's how you game and associate with gamers. Great. I love that. I never really had that. Like, I didn't go to a local scene to play. I just play with friends. But you don't have to be that with this game. With Soulcalibur 2, it's so smooth and easy to understand and pick up and play. These guys can play it and love it, and I can play it and love it single player with friends. Like, you have so many options here with this one. And there's a reason why 2 is kind of stands out in the series as one that people love to come back to and have fond memories of. It's just a fantastic, well-rounded fighter that is still playable and fun in 2023. And you can't say that about a lot of old fighters. So, New Game Plus, easy.
Which means Soulcalibur 2 is New Game Plus certified.
Of course.
One of the first fighters that is on the podcast.
I mean, yeah, out of the few.
Yeah, but we've had pretty bad luck with the ones we've pulled.
We've had
so
a few
far.
good ones. It's just been a while. All right, so what did you think on our YouTube poll? 76% said yes, it's worth playing today. 6% said no, go play something else, and 18% have never played it before.
76 is huge.
Yeah,
And 6
is low.
Not.
Yeah, I like that
that's
spread.
one of the biggest spreads of popularity.
Spread them.
I'm surprised.
Many people played along with us this week and wrote in. Won't be able to include all of your thoughts, but here are some. Dinozord 5000 said, I first played Soul Blade back on the PS1 as a kid and absolutely adored it. Not owning a Dreamcast, I never knew of the existence of Soulcalibur 1. I was on Dreamcast?
Yeah, I believe it was.
But growing up with the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, Soulcalibur 2 was an easy purchase when I first seen it being played in a gaming store and knew I had to get it. It's easily in my top 5 games of the era, and I had some of my best memories as a teenager playing it with my friends after school nearly every day. For fun, we would always do an 8-player versus team battle, but we would always do it on the ice stage for the most ridiculous gameplay, slipping and sliding around the arena, trying to ring out each other. The gameplay is incredible, probably still my favorite game in the series. The graphics and sound for the time were top notch and still honestly hold up really well. Easy New Game Plus.
That's the thing. The game adds a lot of the kind of kooky like mini games kind of to the single player experience and to those versus battle modes that's why it stands out more than other normal fighters.
It's like what makes GoldenEye 007 versus mode fun, because you can put in all of these, choose the weapon, choose the
DK
field,
mode.
choose it's just... Laylis said, I don't like fighting games. Not at all. But somehow, this one is different. Maybe because you are using weapons and it allows for amazing combos through button mashing, or because it comes with atmospheric music, nice graphics, and a good variety of characters with interesting, although not very logical, storylines. All of which make it very easy to pick it up and let yourself get drawn in on the way to perfect your moves or to beat your friends to it. While I like returning to the third entry of the series more than this one, Soulcalibur 2 still shows quality and provides a fun experience, especially to outsiders of the genre. NGP for me.
I never played the third one, and I've heard that from a couple people that it's better.
So how about this next week? You play Soulcalibur 3 and Kenny play Dragon Quest 3.
Ooh, and you'll play
Bet.
Three Musketeers.
Yep.
You'll read it.
Sasser, who submitted this game, said, full disclosure, I maybe played this game 2 or 3 times in the arcade as a kid before coming back to it this week. First and foremost, this game is very approachable. You can get through arcade mode without too much trouble and mostly button mashing. However, the beauty of this game is in weapon master mode. Some of the stage gimmicks are a bit cheesy. For example, the hot potato stage.
I love that.
But others really push you to learn opponents' movesets, how to guard, and most importantly, how to counter. Even when the weapons master mode does not force you to be flashy, it was really satisfying to finally get through a long dungeon stage or a battle series after multiple tries. Sidestepping in the 3D environment can feel a bit stilted at times, but overall, the movements are very crisp. Last of all, there's a large menu of characters available with different movesets to pick from, so you can find one that matches your style. Overall, I can't wait to get back to this game over the next few weeks. NGP all the way.
And that Sasser did submit the game?
Sasser was one of the 4 that submitted the game.
Thank you, Sasser.
And also, Garlisle submitted this game. And Garlisle wrote in saying Soulcalibur 2 does some things different. Its inputs rely less on doing joystick pretzels and instead are almost always simple. And its combo potential is pretty low. Plus, it put actual effort into substantial single player with Weapons Master.
That's a good point.
These were significant departures from the fighting game ethos of the time. Heck, they're still different today. However, it turns out that many of these differences make the game super accessible to new players. Just button mashing makes your character do cool stuff, hooking your interest even on a first play. What's truly impressive, though, is that none of the simplicity sacrifices strategic depth of character diversity for those looking to learn, and the excessive move pool enables players sharing characters to have very separate playstyles. Plus, layered on top of it is some cheesy but appealing character design that isn't quite the usual cliches and some excellent presentation for its time. All this makes for the rare fighting game that can reach beyond the usual hardcore audience, and Soulcalibur 2 instilled a love for the genre in myself and many others.
It's a good point to point out that it's so much less combo-fied than Tekken and even Street Fighter. It's more strings, which is so much more approachable.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I found that interesting. I would love to be able to master it and know a character and know all of their abilities and be able to choose within the. But that's just never going to happen, no matter how many hours I put into it.
But like you said, you just need 1 or 2 bread and butter moves,
but I want to be
and then you'll feel like a G.
You don't have to master.
But I want
you just gotta get pretty okay at it.
For now, we are setting aside Soulcalibur 2, and we are going to randomly select from our Retro Master list. The pool party is over. Or is it?
You got me going for a second there.
For the last few years, we have concluded our pool party with an epic hot tub after party, and we are doing it again.
Yes.
It is time for a producer poll!
It's been a minute, I think, for a producer poll.
We do maybe 2 of these a year, buddy.
We need to do more.
Okay, well, we got a tight schedule here. And so this is the smallest pool that we do.
Yeah.
And like that's why we call it hot tub, because it's just a few of us in this thing.
Not everybody can make it.
Kenny is taking off his long sleeve shirt for this one.
It's too hot otherwise.
And
You got
What's
my
up?
mankini on for
we
this.
have a very small group of games because a lot of people double, triple, quadrupled up on some of these games, and I don't think
know.
there's a lame one in the bunch. Joey is still on his Fable grind. Ben is still on his Faxinadu and Guardian Legend
Still?
grind. Antonin is still on his Bahamut Lagoon grind. Dude, some people have been wanting us to play these games.
I
for a
know.
while.
I feel bad for some, like the Faxinadu ones. Like that's been years.
Shane even did some stats by Shane. The most games submitted was Pikmin with 12 entries.
Another. Oh, 12 is a lot for a producer pool.
It's a lot.
And another GameCube.
Garlisle, Turtle, Levi, Shauna, Brojim, Not Enough Dog, and J. Robert submitted
Oh, wow.
at least one entry each of Pikmin. That's 12. The next closest is Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly, at 3
What?
submissions.
I don't know what that is.
Did you hear the disparity here? We've got 12
Yeah.
at the top, and in second place is 3.
Oh man.
Wow.
Okay.
Everyone
RNG
else,
time.
everyone else is just going on their own. They're saying, "I want these two
Right,
games," and
everyone's
no one else
They're
is
doing
out
their
there.
sticking
one
to
thing.
it.
Out of
Yep.
all of these games, for the smallest pool that we ever do, we are randomizing now. Anything I say might give this away, so I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, I'm so excited to play
So
the game
good-
this week.
Good episode. Talk to you guys next week.
This game came out in, very literally, Kenny will just talk to us when we record next week. That's how often, and not even that, because, all right, this game came out in 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah, that did give it away.
It was developed and published by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Is
Is it on a purple console?
It's on
Purplish
a B tier console,
Stop.
and a new one just came out.
4.
But we are going back to the beginning.
Oh wow.
We're going back to a game that Shigeru Miyamoto created. We are going back to the first one in the series. This is a real-time strategy puzzle video game?
I don't know because I have to admit something.
Uh-huh.
Say the name of the game first.
Arkham. No. The game that we're playing for the next 14 days,
Yeah.
because we have a retro recap coming up. So we've got
better
2
beat
weeks
'em.
on this one. The game is called Pikmin.
Never played it. I know. I'm a GameCube boy.
Neither
and
has
I don't-
Kenny, neither has Dustin.
I've never played.
Same.
I know, but y'all hate GameCube. You're GameCube.
Wait.
You're known GameCube haters, and I
When
love
you
it.
just when Dustin describes the genre, though, it sounds like 100%.
I know it
up my
sounds that
alley.
way,
But
Kenny. But
I
have you ever
don't think
seen
it
it?
is, Kenny.
Because I don't
No.
think
Look.
you will vibe.
Okay, but when I look at it,
I vibe with some things.
but this
things.
isn't
This is
real time.
different.
This isn't a strategy game that you're thinking of. I don't think
You just
so.
said real-time strategy and puzzles.
It's like the same way that Katamari is
Okay.
a puzzle. It's
Okay.
like not what you
It
expect.
gives me Katamari vibes. It also gives me
Yeah.
Doshin the Giant vibes.
Yeah,
I have no
yeah.
idea what this
Okay,
game
you guys
is.
are
though.
It's
convincing
just
me
it's
that
the
people will love
GameCube
it, but I
game.
might not.
It's the GameCube game?
One of yes.
Wow.
This was the first one. It came out. It was a big seller on the GameCube. I'm excited to finally play it.
Okay, find a copy of Pikmin, because for our producer pool, that's the game that we're going to be playing. And as I just said, we're going to be playing it for 2 weeks in a row.
Join us in Discord, please. I have been asking everyone to join. I've been saying that we need to hit 2,500, and y'all have really stepped it up. There have been
Y'all
a
been
lot of
joining.
new people. Yeah, y'all been joining, and we need to keep it up and hit 30,000. We're almost there. And I just wanted to shout out a couple people that did join. I thought it'd be fun to just do that. So welcome Retro Aura. Retro Aura even left commentary for Soulcalibur, so thank you for
Hey.
being part of the
Nice,
community.
thanks.
And L Squid, welcome to Discord.
That's so
Everyone
much
else
fun.
will join.
We said the hot tub doesn't have room for many, and it doesn't. But we've got some new folks joining us as producers this week for the first time so that they could get in on the party. And so we want to say thank you to Unbedavable, Shane, Replicated Flame, Psycho Mantis, and Kenny's Beard. once again.
Okay.
Again?
Nolan,
Up
to producer
Wait,
level.
to producer.
That's
So
a
is-
commitment to the bit.
So is Ken,
That's
I
so
love
funny.
the commitment to that.
But
bit. That is fantastic.
Kenny's beard is done, right?
It has to be done, or
don't
else
know.
Kenny, we're going to be speaking to your beard on the show, and I don't want to do that. So
Trust
don't
me,
do
you
that.
don't want to. That's not a good conversation to have. Thank you guys for becoming producers. We had some people join us as patrons as well for the first time, including Pierre, Ian, and Scotty.
Yeah.
I want to say a huge thank you, of course, to our director level supporters, Bro Jim, Daniel, Garlisle, and Super Hypered. And then look around. If you want to know who's hanging out in the hot tub after party with us, it's this awesome list of producers, including Adam, Alex, and Marley, and Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunt, DH Bowser, Ellis, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbit, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Kirk, Savage, Clint, Nick, Nat, Corey, Levi, Maximum, Not Enough Dog, Pedro, Sage, and Shauna, Thomas, Unbelievable, Siegfried, and Zion. Thank you guys for your support.
Did you say thank you to our directors? You probably did.
He did.
I did. Yeah, you just missed it because you were too busy doing
Playing
shenanigans.
games.
Do we need a director? Hold on. Okay.
A
A
director
director
What's
pool?
smaller?
That's
Wait.
Smaller than a hot tub.
Those little
A
like
bathtub?
no, the ones that you put in your
bath-
yard. Oh, a bathtub after
a
party.
bathtub after party.
A splish splash bathtub extravaganza for directors.
Don't use any of those words.
Kenny,
Bubble bath.
one last request. I've asked it before. Would you ever do an NGP meetup, allow for an NGP meetup at the lake house where we can all get in the water together?
Probably not.
But maybe.
But
He
maybe.
didn't
Okay.
say no.
He didn't say no.
Certain people.
Follow us on our socials. That's Facebook, boo, Twitter, boo, Twitch, boo, TikTok, yay, YouTube, boo.
TikTok, boo.
Are we?
Oh,
are
it's-
we calling it X now?
No,
Well, yeah, that's true, Dustin. There is no Twitter.
I'm not changing.
Wait, you
it
have to change your
X.
notes. People
After
are going
all
to type in
these
Twitter
years?
like buffoons. Where's my favorite podcast?
You can find all those links in the notes. Do I have to change our link? Are we now x.com/NGP podcast?
Yes, it's technically
Don't
changed.
search. Don't.
I don't know.
Don't go there. I don't know.
Don't
what
go
it
there. I
is.
don't know.
It's our secret website. And listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Pikmin. Until then, I'm still Link.
So am I.
Cervantes.
Spawn. And this has been New Game Plus.